Hello, my name is Marissa Fearman. It is August 23rd, 2023. Today I'll be talking about feedback loops in the non-gravid female reproductive system, and I will be sharing what the female reproductive system is, along with each definition of each place that's inside the reproductive system, and then feedback loops as well that are within the reproductive system. To start off, we're going to ask, what is the female reproductive system? So the female reproductive system is defined as consists of the vagina, the uterus, the fallopian tubes, and the ovaries, and it's involved in sexual activity. And then I also have my diagram right here as we go along. So we're going to start off with, what is the vagina? So the vagina provides a passageway for blood and mucosal tissue from the uterus during a woman's monthly period. That's located usually at the bottom. It kind of looks like a pea pod shape, so the vagina is located at the bottom, and then we'll get over the rest of these in a little bit. So next we have the uterus, which is located up at the top right there. The uterus is a pear-shaped organ in the reproductive system of people assigned female at birth. It's kind of like a half circle, oval looking. And then we have the ovaries, which are right here. There's one right there, and then there's one on that side as well. So the ovaries are female reproductive organs where the eggs or ovia are produced. And then we have the fallopian tubes. The fallopian tubes are kind of on the outside of the ovary, and those are a pair of tubes where the eggs travel from the ovaries into the uterus. So it travels outside from those little circle shapes that I just showed, through the fallopian tubes and up to the uterus. So now we'll be talking about what kinds of functions does the female reproductive system do. So the female reproductive system, it produces gametes and eggs, and it's involved in hormone production and fertilization. And then we'll go into positive feedback loops, we'll go into negative, and then we'll kind of describe the menstrual cycle phases as well. So first we'll start it off with the positive feedback loop. So that happens when you get to the hypothalamus. In the hypothalamus, we will see an increase in the estradiol concentrations as the ovarian follicles grow and release gonadotropin releasing hormone. So that's a positive feedback symbol to the pituitary, where it signals the GRH into the pituitary. So then the gonadotropin estradiol concentration is an example of a positive feedback loop. So in the pituitary, you're going to get the luteinizing hormone. It's going to go into the ovary as a positive feedback loop, and then it's going to circulate back around, and then there's going to be a negative feedback loop in there, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then it goes back to the pituitary, and then it just keeps ongoing cycle until that phase is over. So now we will talk about kind of like the menstruational period, or the 28-day cycle. So first off, for the first 2 weeks, you're going to be in one phase called the growing cycle. So based off the graph that I have, you can see that the estradiol, it starts to increase. It starts to increase right before ovulation, and then once ovulation hits, it has a dramatic decrease straight down. But right when ovulation starts, we see estradiol kind of has an increase from third week of the growing follicle to right before ovulation, but the luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone, we see a dramatic increase right before ovulation, so day 13, 14, and then right after ovulation, so between the luteal phase, right when that luteal phase starts, we see a dramatic decrease in both the luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone. And so once ovulation begins, the LH and FSH have an increase in production, and this may be due to stress, menstrual cycles starting early, or environmental factors. And during the corpus luteum phase, both LH and FSH decrease, whereas progesterone, you see that increased curve, as you see on this graph at the bottom right there. That is progesterone. So progesterone is increased due to its preparation of the uterus for pregnancy. So then once the body knows that it's not going to be using the progesterone for pregnancy, it goes away. So that's somehow you see that decline. And then that's after that 28 days. And then that's when you start the menses cycle. So during the corpus albicans phase, we will see a decline in all hormones, and they will kind of stay all at within the same level, including the estrogen and progesterone. They do maintain a steady state. After the cycle occurs during the short 2-week span, it will turn back to the follicular phase for 14 to 21 days. So the follicular phase occurs, then for about 14 days, then you have the luteal phase, which is from day 14 to day 28. And then after that, it's considered menses occurs from day 29 back to right before those 2 weeks. So during this stage is when you feel all of your symptoms. That luteal phase, you can have swelling of the stomach, you can feel really tired. That's when you see a lot of, I guess you could say, that's when you could see a lot of edema and kind of like you're retaining a lot of stuff during that phase, because it's just holding on until it's all ready to flow out during that luteal phase. So the question always is there a negative feedback loop? Well, most of the reproductive system is considered a negative feedback loop, except the one that I explained earlier. So the negative feedback loop is except when the GnRH hormone is released during the estradiol phase. But other than that, so from the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary, we have that positive feedback of the LH and FSH, as I stated before. So, but on the other hand, the negative feedback loop would be both the inhibin and the testosterone. And that's because testosterone and inhibin inhibit the secretion of GnRH by the hypothalamus, and LH and FSH by the pituitary. So that's where you see the decrease or negative feedback of those two, which cause the decrease in the GnRH production. So you have to maintain those levels equally so you get the right amount of GnRH produced, so the FSH and the LH can still function to start inhibiting that negative feedback of the inhibin and the testosterone. Another negative feedback is the hypothalamus. Again, you have the pituitary gland, the ovary, the estrogen, and progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone also submit a negative feedback over most of the cycle to the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. But during day 12 and 14, they produce a positive feedback to estrogen, or to the hypothalamus. Estrogen and progesterone do. So those other days that it produces a negative feedback is when they have decreased concentrations. But when during that 12 to 14 days, like I explained before, right before the ovulation phase, that's when it has its positive feedback levels. But in the end, after that 14 days, then all levels maintain that steady flow, and all the hormones get back to the levels it needs before it starts back up again at day 14 to start releasing the hormones that are necessary for the luteal phase. So that is explaining the feedback loops in the non-gravid female reproductive system.